together through the book. The book we're looking at right now, which we've been looking on since July, first Sunday of July 2023, is The Good Life. The Good Life. The Good Life by Robert Waldinger and Max Schutz. That's what we're looking at. And it's 85 plus year study of human development, human adult development, trying to look for what makes for the right optimum human adult development. Several studies have gone on children development, but this looks like adult development as we go from being children to adolescents, young adults, midlife, late life, and centurion. Just trying to look at, from other people's life, gain the benefit of experience to know how to do life well, how to do life right, such that we can have both the length of life and the width of life, longevity and the quality of life, and the results, of a study is that what makes that happen is relationship. It's about having the right relationship in our life, the right connections in our life, and the quality of those relationships, the quality of those connections. That is what will ensure, guarantee, help us to have a longevity of life. We don't die before our time. And also, not just having the longevity, but having a quality longevity, one that we enjoy in terms of health, in terms of health, in terms of happiness, in terms of joy, in terms of being fulfilled in life. So it's relationships, having the right relationship in the different facets of our life, and also the quality of those relationships. The two are important. The one thing is to have the relationship, but it's not just having the relationship, but having the quality relationship, quality of the interaction, quality of the connections. That's what we've been learning and studying from the book, looking at what it takes to do that. We've talked about the need to be socially fit. Social fitness is the ability to create relationship and keep existing one. And so if you're one that has problem creating relationship or maintaining existing one, then you are not socially fit. You have a problem with your social fitness, and you then need to do exercise to get the right fitness for your life. Otherwise, you'll be lonely. Otherwise, you'll not be able to get the benefit, the ingredient, the what you are supposed to feed from the relationships in your life, or the relationship you're supposed to have in life, So that's what we've been looking at, how to get you to have the right social fitness so you can have the right social integration in your life, and we've looked at several concepts. We've looked at loneliness, what it is. We've looked at social universe. We'll look at several things. But right now we're in chapter 7 of the book, and it talks about the person beside you. We're talking about the person beside you. And that person beside you could be your spouse, your children. It could be your neighbor. It could be your office associate. It could be those working for you, those who you work for, but being able to relate on a one-on-one basis. That's what we're looking at. Obviously, the main focus is on relating with your spouse, or relating with your partner, or someone you're courting, someone you're looking to be as a partner for life, but the same thing, that we're discussing in that wise affects every other relationship in our life. It just works across the spectrum. So we're looking at the whole spectrum of relationship on a one-on-one relationship. That's what we're pretty much looking at in chapter 7. We've done two sections in chapter 7. This is going to be our third one. And it seems like we're probably going to have up to 6 sections in chapter 7 before we're done. Like I always say, we're not in a hurry. We're going to take the time that it takes to get the fullness of the benefit from the chapter. Bless you. So we're not gonna be in a hurry. We're gonna take our time, to soak it in. I love soaking it in. I love doing things precept by precept, line upon line. Never in a hurry. We're not gonna rush it. Just gonna get everything that we can get, because the importance is not the number of books that we read. Like I gotta say all the time, it's the way the book is changing us, is who we become as a result of reading the book, as a result of spending this time together. The changed life, how it is changing our lives for good, is what's important. So we'll soak all that we need to soak, if only just to make us who we ought to be, if only to help us to become to become the fullest version of all that we're created to be. That we can use the potentials in our life, that the potentials in our life will not be in vain, that we'll enjoy relationship in this life, get the benefit of relationship in our life, and even be able to help other people. Like I get to do all the time. I do have slides. I'm going to bring up my slides here, and we'll run through the slides and, have our discussion for today. This part 3 of the person beside you. That's what we're doing today. And this is a quote we kind of used to run through the chapter, and it's just emphasizing the fact that, for us to truly live and have the fullest benefit of living, we need to be vulnerable. As children, we feel that maybe people are interfering, or one day I'm going to get saved from people interfering into my life. I'm going to get my own space. But there's no life in not being vulnerable. To get the fullness benefit of life, you have to be vulnerable. However, in being vulnerable also, there is a place for you to protect yourself. Like I gotta say all the time, Stephen King would say, the road to hell is paved with the stone, the road to hell is paved with a stone of is paved with adverbs, right? Is made of adverbs. When you do things too much or too little, you to lead you to hell. You will not get the benefit of what you're doing, right? Balance is the essence of life. Balance is the essence of life. Too little, too much is not where life is. That's where the devil is. That's where the hell is. Heaven is in the balance, right? God Almighty does not dwell in the too little, too much. He's in the balance. He's a perfect God. He stays in the balance, right? So the devil is in the adverbs, too little, too much. God is in the balance. Life is found in the balance, right? So you need to be vulnerable, but vulnerability with sense, right? But we'll talk more about that. Let's go on. Let me welcome Toba. Toba made it in today. Toba, how are you doing? Hello, Toba, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you. Bless your heart. Good to have you
The
here
last
today.
few weeks I've been so busy. That's why.
I know the feeling. The life of a pastor. Yes, I know. But good to
Thank
have
you,
you.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good also to see you on LinkedIn.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Good. Yeah. So we've pretty much been looking at chapter 7 of the book. The title of chapter 7 is The Person Beside You, and just talking about relationship, a one-on-one relationship, typical between you and your spouse, or between you and any other person. So we're looking at the whole spectrum. I kind of call it the Valentine special that we're discussing here. I didn't plan it, but that's the way God has had it, that this is what we're sharing around this time. I got to talk about love February of every year. I got to talk about love on social media. So I guess God just orchestrated it, that that's what we're talking about in this season. So that's what we're on. Yeah. So it's our third reading into chapter 7, to be looking more again into love, what love is. That's what we'll be sharing today.
All
So
right. All right.
yeah, you're welcome. So,
Thank you.
look, yeah. So when it comes to relating with someone else, we need to understand that that person is different. It's different from you, and it's different from every other person. Where marriages fall apart is because someone wants to make the spouse like someone else. People have had other people in their life, and you marry someone and you want to make that person look like that person that you had in your life. It's not going to work. That's a sign for disaster. Women go into marriage and they want to make their husband like their father or some other boyfriend they've had in their past. And they're trying to force feed that man to be like that. It's a sure sign. It's sure way to have disaster in that relationship. Or the man wants the woman to be like the mother or some other woman he's had before in his life. When it comes to relationship, you must accept the person you are with as the person you are with, not as someone else. The way to have a good relationship with anybody at all, is to respect the person of the person you are relating with, right? And so yeah, so respect the person of the person you're relating with. Otherwise, you're going to have issues relating with that person, and that's where we use the word, being unassuming. The lazy thing to do when we are relating with someone else is to stereotype. Oh, he's from the East, so all the people from the East do this. Oh, he's a woman, so every woman does this. Oh, he's a man, or he's from this tribe, this ethnic group. Oh, he's short, he's tall, so they are this. I mean, you're not going to have a good relationship with people when you stereotype, right? You need to find out about the person you're relating with and relate with the person that person is, not your stereotyped image, idol of who that person is supposed to be, right? The way to connect with somebody is to find out about that person and relate to that person as who he or she is, right? Whether it be in your love relationship with your spouse, whether it be at work, whether it be in church, or wherever it is that you find yourself, right? The way to have a great relationship, the way to connect with someone else is to find out about that person and relate with the person as the person is, not as you want that person to be, right? So, that is also has a parallel to every area of our life, right? In what whether you're going to a business, right? You don't stereotype. You don't do what they do in one business in another business, right? Yes, there are some transferable general principles, but when you come to that business, you must now find out how to relate those general principles to the reality of the business that you are in. You have to know about that business so that you can be able to then see how those principles apply. But if you just apply them without knowing those principles, without knowing where you're trying to apply it, you're going to have a failure, right? So there's a quote here, which is tied to a World War One German field marshal called Molik the Elder. He says, no plan of operation extends with certainty beyond the first encounter with the enemy's main strength. He says that if you have a plan, whatever theory you brought into sphere, it will all need to be tweaked, adjusted to face the reality on ground. Someone wrote about that before he had children, he had 6 theories. But now that he has children, he has no theory, right? Because no matter what theory you have before you have children, you have to face the reality of who your child is. Only after that can you then apply, see how those your theories might apply to that child, but it will not be a one-to-one correlation because every child is different. Same way you might have all the theories about how to relate with a spouse, right? But you have to then bring those theories and adjust them to the reality of who your spouse is, not try to force fit those principles or those ideas on your spouse. You must know who your spouse is and find out how those principles or those ideas might apply. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem, right? It's not about the principle, it's about the connection. It's about rubbing your spouse the way your spouse needs to be rubbed, not the way you want to rub your spouse. When you are relating with someone else, it's not about you. It's about that person you are relating with, right? So that ties again to the third habit, the third habit of Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey will say that you need to understand before before you seek to be understand, right? You have to understand the person you are relating with before you can seek for that person to understand you. You have to know the person you are relating with and see how that person takes, what works for that person, right? Because only then can you then relate or connect with that person. Because until you connect with that person, you cannot communicate with that person. You cannot relate with that person. Your heart and the person's heart cannot meet, right? When two hearts meet, is connection. But for that connection to take place, there must be a sense, a level of understanding, such that only when there's understanding can there then be connection, right? So that